All right, everyone. Well, welcome. We are starting our City Council meeting here, July 14th, 2026. If you could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God, we ask your blessings on those who have been called to lead the community in which we live, work, and play. Guide us to peacefully speak through our debate. Remind us that we are not only leaders, but more servants, and that it is our responsibility to serve the common good of all. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know what is good to do, that is right and honest. May we speak out when it is time to speak out, and listen patiently and respectfully when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community in our beloved San Marcos, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. Amen. All right, we do have a roll call. Mr. Skullick?
Yeah, Councilmember LeBlanc.
Present.
Councilmember Musgrove.
Here.
Councilmember Nunez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Sanella.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. Okay, we're going to do things a little differently, so I'm just going to, we have a new state mandate. Isn't that fun? Anyway, so I have a few things that I need to read for you. This last year, the California legislature passed Senate Bill 707, modernizing the Brown Act by expanding public access, requiring hybrid or Zoom meetings for city council meetings, and codifying teleconferencing and accessibility rules. If you did hear, it said meeting now and being recorded. That's just so that you know we're recording it for Zoom. As part of these new rules, members of the public wishing to comment on agenda items may do so in person or remotely by logging into the Zoom meeting identified on our agenda. In-person speakers will be called first, followed by the remote speakers. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for their comments. And if we have an abundance of speakers, that will be changed to 2 minutes. For in-person comment, speakers must submit a speaker slip located near the door. When called to speak, please approach the podium and state your name and affiliation if desired. For remote comment, speakers must indicate that they wish to speak when we get to that item on the agenda by using the raise your hand feature or dialing *9 if joining by phone. When called upon, either by name or the last 4 digits of your phone number, please unmute yourself by using the unmute button or dialing *6 on your phone and state your name and affiliation if desired. Additionally, translated captions are available on the Zoom phone and desktop applications by selecting the closed caption translated option on your personal device. So with that, just to let everyone know what we're doing, why it will seem a little bit different, we have a few proclamations and presentations this evening. So we will, if the council could please join me in front, that would be great. Okay, so first we're going to be having our Volunteer Sheriff Patrol proclamation and certificate for Mike Gardner. But I'd like to start with this. I don't know if everyone out in the audience or at home have seen all of our volunteers in their white shirts. They're right here in the first 3 rows. They save us so much money, so millions of dollars. We love you so much, not only for that reason, but you always have smiling faces, so it saves us money, of course, but also you're such good representatives, and if everyone was at 4th of July, you were out in full force, and we really appreciate that. Assisting our regular deputies, and you know, it's really important for us in the city. We appreciate each one of you and all of the time and talent that you provide our city. So first, let me just say that. And then I have some things that I need to read, of course, because we like to have it formal as well. But Mike Gardner, and then also I think we're going to have John Spiller come and he's our volunteer Sheriff Patrol Administrator for the San Marcos Station, and Mike Gardner. So if you could come on down. Okay.
I guess Mike couldn't make it today.
Yeah, where is he? He's probably stuck on the 78. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's San Marcos.
Okay. Well, that is so disappointing. All right, well, I'm just going to give that. Actually, you know what? Let's read it for him too. Anyway, okay. So, Mark, if you're at home listening and watching, we are presenting you with an honorable certificate of recognition for your 12 years of dedicated volunteer service to our community through the San Marcos Sheriff's Office. Since 2014, Mike Gardner has served with distinction, contributing over 10,844 hours personally with his volunteer patrols hours. His work has bridged the public department, demonstrating the vital role volunteers play in building safer, stronger communities. This certificate is awarded upon his retirement from active service. He's probably home eating popcorn. Actually, he's probably not on the 78. With deepest gratitude and admiration for his extraordinary contributions. So I'm going to give this to you. But I also wanted to, and I think you're probably going to go over this too, but do you guys have fun? Lots of fun. And you're looking for new people too, aren't you?
Always.
Okay, so I'll let you talk a little bit about that, but they have fun too. So it's all about the fun, the volunteerism, of course, and then, of course, making our city better. So I have a big proclamation, though, for you. So the Volunteer Sheriff's Patrol is a volunteer-based program for individuals 50 years and older. Yes, I could actually serve as well. Not all of us, but a few of us. Who choose to serve our community by promoting public safety, supporting crime prevention programs, and providing assistance at sheriff stations. I'm going to give this to you to hold. There you go. And the San Marcos Sheriff Station, 34 volunteers currently serve in this capacity, contributing their time, experience, and compassion to the residents of our beautiful city of San Marcos. These volunteers perform a wide range of duties, from administrative support to patrolling neighborhoods and checking on the welfare of elderly or disabled residents. They also conduct security checks, including checks of residents' home while they're on vacation, and provide essential support that enhances the ability of the San Diego County Sheriff's Office to serve and protect our community. And they do a great job of that. The Volunteer Sheriff Patrol Unit consistently responds to critical incidents by providing vital traffic control and operational support during fires, major accidents, and extended call-outs involving fatalities and officer-involved shootings. Beyond emergency response, the unit contributes extensive time and service to local community events like the 4th of July. Their involvement also spans vital civic and celebratory gatherings such as gun buyback program, San Marcos Holiday Parade, and San Marcos school graduations. The City of San Marcos deeply values the dedication, professionalism, and spirit of service, which we have here in San Marcos so beautifully, demonstrated by all 34 of you volunteers whose contributions reflect the highest ideals of civic responsibility and community partnership. Their engagement strengthens community engagement, enhances our public safety here in San Marcos, and supports the city's ongoing partnership with all of our residents of our beautiful city of San Marcos. Therefore, we, the City Council of the City of San Marcos, do hereby commend all of our volunteers at the San Marcos Sheriff Station with their exceptional dedication, professionalism, and steadfast commitment to public safety within our community. And I would have to say, the thing that I think we also appreciate so much is that you show up. You show up every time you're called. You just are always there, so we really appreciate that. And you at the helm of getting everyone to actually herding the cats, as we call that. Anyway, if you wanted to say a few words, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Oops.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor. For those that don't know me, I'm John Spiller. I'm the administrator for the Volunteer Sheriff Patrol serving the San Marcos Station. I want to thank the mayor and the council for this prestigious recognition, and also the command staff and all the deputies that serve the station. We're happy to support what they do, try to make their job a little bit easier, and we're happy to support the city of San Marcos. I really also want to thank most especially the men and women seated here and those that couldn't be with us tonight. Thank you for what you do, giving of your time. The pay is lousy, but the rewards are great. And yeah. On a side note, anybody that's listening or maybe at home in the audience, if you're interested in joining us, we're always looking for more people. We brought a shirt for the mayor since she's going to be changing jobs. She might still have some extra time, you know.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
But anyway, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and thank you all for what you do every day.
Aw, thank you. So it's a big ask, but can we get you all to come up because we really want to recognize every single one of you. Please, thank you. And of course, our leadership department. Yes, okay. We're going to scooch in, okay, thank you. Come on up. Just kind of, we could actually go on the steps. Yeah, and then we can fit in. Yeah, no one trip and fall. We don't want to have a fall fire. It's good to see you. Thanks again.
Oh, you got a chuckle. Serious. How about dive right or dive left?
I know.
Do we have it took
I think he grabbed it, yeah. Yeah, well, that's okay. He's probably really on the 70.
Yeah, you definitely really do more sure.
I do? That's amazing. I love it. Of course. Thank you. Again, they save us millions of dollars, so we appreciate you so much. And then again, being such great stewards of our city. Bye. So not letting the fun end, we also have, they don't call us San Marcos for nothing. So we actually have Jacob Rocha, who's our special events recreation supervisor. Come on down. He's bringing the fun to San Marcos, right? All right. So it is it is Parks Make Life Better, but San Marcos Parks make life better. Anyway, the City of San Marcos Park and Recreation Department, it enhances the quality of life for all of our residents of all ages, providing parks, trails, recreational facilities, programs, and events that promote health, wellness, and community connection. Whereas San Marcos Parks, open spaces, and recreational opportunities encourage active lifestyles, support mental and physical well-being, and provide safe and welcoming places for play, exercise, learning, and also relaxation. Parks and recreation programs strengthen community spirit by bringing residents together through youth sports, enrichment classes, cultural celebrations, special events, and volunteer opportunities that foster inclusion and belonging. The City of San Marcos is committed to preserving and enhancing its parks, trails, and natural resources, ensuring access to high-quality recreational opportunities that enrich the lives of our current and future generations. The California Park and Recreation Society's statewide public awareness campaign, Parks Make Life Better, recognizes the essential role parks and recreation services play in building healthy, vibrant, and resilient communities. Therefore, we, the City of San Marcos and the City Council, do hereby recognize the importance of parks, recreation, trails, open space, and community programs to the health, wellness, and vitality of our community, and proudly proclaim July 2026 as Parks Make Life Better. Do you have a few things that you'd like to say? And maybe mention what's up and coming, like our monthly our trail walks, that sort of thing, if you don't mind. And thank you for being here this evening. Of course.
Thank you, Mary Jones, and thank you, City Council members. Yeah, July has already shaped up to be quite a fun and eventful month for the City of San Marcos. We kicked it off with the 4th of July celebration and fireworks show. Mary Jones, I know you appreciated the live music that we had at that event.
Great.
Which
Yes,
was,
they were great.
yes, and we would love to have them back again.
Okay.
But yeah, aside from that, we have all of our regular classes and summer camps and programming that the city runs annually. We also have our summer concert series at the Woodhouse, our movies in the park, which are free to attend for families. We have our Heart of the City hike coming up this month. And then another fun little project that we've had an ongoing for the past couple of months will continue in July, and that's our community rock snake. So we invite members of the public to come paint a rock and add to the rock snake. It'll be a permanent installation. And we also have pop-up painting workshops every Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. And we got some rocks graciously donated by Modern Builder Supply. So thank you very much for doing that.
And the rock snake is at?
My apologies. It's at Jack's Pond.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And if you don't know where that park is, it's right there in La Marie. Spent a lot of time there with my kids. It's right near my home, so come on over and take a picture.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks again. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Moving on to consent calendar, do we have any speaker slips or any items that any council members wish to pull? Seeing none, and any online speakers? Yeah, okay.
Caller 3731, your 3 minutes will begin now.
Hey there, it is Truth and San Marcos. I'm affiliated with everyone that finds government to be bloated, and I promise I'm not calling it for consent, just to be San Marcos' first remote comment. I really do have thoughts on items 2, 8, and 9. So item 2, over $7,000 to do that. Rich guy with a corporate office in Encinitas, right there at the coast. I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but I find that atrocious. And they also provided a really flawed and biased survey to the city of Santee. So whatever they're doing for you guys, I would just look very carefully at that. And then you have $4,100 for LinkedIn. And I'm just like, wow, is that for the city employees just to be on LinkedIn? That is a crazy amount. And then you have $15,467 for Regional Government Services Authority. And I'm like, what is that exactly? That's, I've never heard of that. And then I noticed the Mighty Untouchables got a heck of a $5,000 payment to play July 4th. That's one of the highest amounts I've ever seen for a band from a city. But overall, I just want to say the way the city displays the monthly spending is atrociously difficult to read. It's a hot mess. Then when I look in the top right corner, I see a Tyler ERP Solution logo. So no wonder the display is a hot mess. It matches Tyler Technologies and all their horrible scandals of bad data around the country. That's resulted in things like wrongful arrest. So for the warrants, I'm going to recommend dropping troubled Tyler and then looking at how the city of National City clearly organized and clearly lists their spending. And then item 8, note a government scooping up land to build ugly and expensive stack attacks with zero details. There's not even an address provided that I saw in the agenda. Item 9, why does the city need an overpriced consultant to know the inner workings of council chambers? Why couldn't in-house staff know that? Is $1 million the least amount consultant IDS real estate? I mean, that's really the least you could spend on that? That's kind of crazy. And why aren't there details on what exactly needs upgrading? Is this standard practice for the city to give itself blank $1 million checks on upgrades? So I'm just looking for transparency in more transparency in your spending. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you. Any other public speakers? No. Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve tonight's consent calendar.
Do we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Any noes? Seeing none? Okay, moving on to oral communications. At this time, we will be taking public comments on oral communications. For items not on the agenda, we will call up in-person comments first, and if any remote viewer wishes to speak on this item, please use the raise your hand feature by either clicking on the button or dialing *9 at this time. City Clerk, are there any persons? There are a few in person, and then after that, we will then have the online remote comments. Okay, first up is John Mosher, followed by Dora Sandoval, and then also Pat Gibbons. Hi, John. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff. Speaking for SEMRA, San Marcos Mobile Home Residents Association, I wanted to give our thanks for the Planning Commission going over the senior overlay district, senior overlay for the mobile home parks, creating the zone, and progressing with that, and getting it ready to go to the City Council for final approval in September. We had a great turnout, so I know all our seniors are very interested in getting that wrapped up and trying to protect our future. Speaking for our part, San Marcos Mobile Estates, I asked a couple of our residents to come tonight to talk. There are a few of them that had the solar put in. I came back in like 3 months ago plus and brought a spreadsheet showing you Pat Gibbons' file, showing you the kilowatt usage. On the sheets I gave you, you have your month, year, the total kilowatt hour is the third column is the key column. I took the first 2 years before they had solar put in, and then the 2 years following once they had it put in. And what was happening is the meters that they had, the park has in there, is actually reading the solar output as consumption by the residents. And instead of having a meter that will go both directions, like a regular home, or if you were actually tied into SDG&E, when you're actually producing and you're not using, you get a credit, or your meter would run backwards, the bidirectional ones. We've tried to get the park to put them in for years, and we've had difficulty with it, even though it was acknowledged at the very beginning they needed different meters. So Dora's come to talk about a little bit about her stuff. Pat actually may not make it here. She's driving here from Oceanside from a doctor's visit, so she's trying to get here. But I wanted to share this. I know, Danielle, when I first brought these, you weren't back yet, and I'm not sure if you actually saw the Gibbons file or not, but this is a cleaner copy of what I produced before. So we are still working on trying to get this resolved and get the correct meters in there. One thing is that Twin Oaks Valley Park right up the road, they're resident owned, but they're also under a master meter just like we are. So I had a chance to talk to the lead maintenance guy, and he's the one that installs their meters. And the solar people that actually put Doris and Pat in actually work over there. And they put the bidirectional meters in. They work fine. The guy verified they go backwards when they're overproducing there in the middle of the day and the people aren't using. And that's all we're trying to get them to do, is actually do the right thing for our residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Next up is Dora Sandoval, followed by Pat Gibbons.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Dora Sandoval, and I live in San Marcos Mobile State since 2009. And my husband and I, we try to save and save to invest in something that when we get older, we will have some savings. So we try to put a solar 20 panels in our mobile and change everything electrical. Well, at the beginning it was working, but since day one, since this property management called J&H took over 2024, they've been giving us a hard time since day one. Okay, the first thing that they did, they took my bi-directional meter off, of the meter. And so that means that whatever my solar system is producing, my meter is not reading the one that they just put on now. And so I tried to tell them, and I tried to say, please, all my investment, all that we have, we put it in here because we don't have money. We only live by the Social Security. And how can you do this to us? Well, they told me that I had a balance of over $1,000. Okay, we pay it. Okay, we don't want no problems. They gave me 360-day notice. They kicked me out. I said, no, I don't have no place where to go. I pay. Okay, I pay. And I say, would I have more problems? They say, no, no more. There we go again. Just right now, I receive another bill. My bill was coming 5-something, 6-something, but when they removed my bi-directional meter, the bill, boom, went up, $144.41. And I tried to talk to them. Listen, I did everything possible that my husband and I, we could have done. Put everything electrical, everything in my house is electrical. Boom, it went up. They are very rude, very unprofessional, very bully. They hang up on me. So this is the problem we've been facing with these people since day one, 2024, and we need help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dora. Next up is Pat Gibbons.
Our city manager, I also had another resident of San Marcos Mobile Home Estates asked to speak with me up in our offices, about, I don't know, a month ago or so, about the same issue. I was a little lost as to what our involvement might be, or more importantly, how we could possibly help. And I am going to be meeting with John on the property on Friday morning, and so I'd like to hear more from the residents that are impacted while I'm there. But and between now and Friday, can I get a little bit more information on if there's anything that we can do to help?
Yes, absolutely. As you know, our influence with SDG&E is very limited. They have a government relations contact that we sometimes are able to access. But yes, I will brainstorm on if there's anything we can do to assist.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then we have one on Zoom or on the line caller.
Caller 3731, please unmute your phone.
Okay, hi, it's Truth again, and I guess we don't have a second round to make me wait till the end of the meeting. I think that's what the mayor was suggesting. How horrible for my official system test. So first, I'd like to address the partial doxing of my phone number that has occurred. That was avoidable. Please ask the cities of Santee and El Cajon how they are avoiding doxing the last digits of people's phone numbers by simply having a sign-up system, either by city website form or by city email to the clerk. Maybe without a $1 million consultant, San Marcos could implement something similar to ensure privacy of personally identifiable information is maintained for all participants. A sign-up system would also ensure proper meeting management, as the clerk and mayor would have a good idea of how many people will be participating in the meeting without having to readjust in real time. I'm also here to hold Rebecca accountable for missing one council meeting. That's crazy, she never misses anything. But mystery mayor told me to say hi to you for them, so hi. Now, to celebrate America's 250th birthday, I would like to read a non-sequential part of George Washington's farewell address, still relevant 230 years later. Quote, "The name of American belongs to you. The basis of our political system is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. All obstructions to the execution of the laws are destructive of this fundamental principle. They serve to organize factions, to put into place the will of a party. Cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men enabled to subvert the power of the people and to assert for themselves the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. The dangers of parties, the alternate domination of one faction over another, leads to a permanent despotism. The disorders and misery which result in incline men to seek security in the absolute power of an individual on the ruins of public liberty. It serves always to distract the public council. It agitates the community with false alarms, kindles animosity of one against another, foments riot and insurrection. It opens the door to foreign influence and corruption. Time and habit are necessary to fix the true character of government, to secure the rights of person and property. The jealousy of a free people ought to be constantly awake." End quote. So one lesson, we're not supposed to have political parties because they are inherently a conflict of interest against the country. Because instead of people making decisions in the best interest of the people and abiding by the Constitution, people are making decisions on behalf of a political party's wishes, whatever big money lobbyists pay for. So I think it's in the best interest of the country to ban political parties altogether. Second lesson, the ability to make alterations to the Constitution and to remedy the character of government. They are limited if the options are limited, so that's where remote access has become relevant. Now the state just needs to fund it and abide by the Constitution, right? And lastly, shout out to Ed, hope you're well and haven't been eating too many donuts like that darn Santee Mayor John Mento. Thank you for listening to my comments.
Okay, that is our last public speaker, yes? Okay, moving on then, we are going on to our public hearing items. We have an urgency ordinance number 2026-1580 and ordinance number 2026-1581, implementing Senate Bill SB 79, SB 79, more commonly known as, for transit-oriented development standards, site exemptions, phased implementation areas, and zoning map amendments. This evening we have Sean De Solar, our Sustainability Program Director, our Manager, and Joe Faraci, our Planning Director, and they will provide our staff presentation this evening. Welcome. And this is actually at their, they know how much we love, I'm saying that with the most amount of sarcasm possible, state mandates. So they are up here knowing that this is not good news. It's never good news. So anyway, gentlemen, if you'd like to start.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Before City Council this evening is a text amendment to San Marcos Municipal Code, adding Chapter 20.280, a transit-oriented development ordinance that locally implements SB 79. Senate Bill SB 79, adopted by the state in October of 2025 and is in effect as of July 1st, 2026. SB 79 requires cities to allow higher density residential development within 1/2 mile of qualifying transit stops. The law preempts conflicting zoning standards without adoption of an ordinance implementing SB 79. The city's adoption of the proposed ordinance will implement SB 79, allow certain sites to be exempted, temporarily excluded, and establish development standards. Just backing up for a little bit of background on what SB 79 exactly is, as previously stated, SB 79 allows higher density residential development on sites within 1/2 mile of a transit stop. The sites must be zoned residential, commercial, Mixed use, however, industrial sites are not subject to SB 79. Development intensities vary by proximity to the transit stop, with areas adjacent to transit stops, areas within 1/4 mile of a transit stop, and basically between a 1/4 mile and a 1/2 mile having lessening intensity ranges that we'll discuss here in just a moment. Eligible projects must also meet minimum state requirements to be developed as transit-oriented housing development. The law introduces the term transit-oriented development zones, which is the 1/2 mile radius around qualifying transit stops, as seen here on the slide in red. The transit stops subject to SB 79 are Palomar College, San Marcos Civic Center, California State University San Marcos, and the Nordal Road Station, which is located outside of the city limits. However, its transit-oriented development zone extends into the city. Although there was initially some discussion about whether the Sprinter line would qualify as rail under SB 79, the California Department of Housing and Community Development clarified in guidance released on March 20th that the Sprinter is classified as commuter rail. Then on June 18th, SANDAG published its SB 79 transit-oriented development stop and zone map, which designated the Sprinter stations as Tier 2 transit-oriented development stops based on the service frequencies established by SB 79. Because all qualifying transit stops in San Marcos are classified as Tier 2, the proposed ordinance focuses exclusively on the Tier 2 development standards. I also wanted to note that under SB 79, certain bus stops may qualify as transit-oriented development stops if they meet specific criteria, including 15-minute peak service intervals and operation within a dedicated bus lane or separate right-of-way. No existing or planned bus stops in San Marcos currently meet these criteria. The provisions of SB 79 only apply to a project that meets certain criteria to be transit-oriented housing, to be considered a transit-oriented housing development project. This criteria means that transit-oriented housing development projects must have at least 30 dwelling units per acre and consist of a minimum of 5 dwelling units. If a project meets this criteria, sorry about that. If a project meets this criteria, then cities must allow transit-oriented development standards to projects to have the following minimum standards. As you can see here, density within a 1/4 mile is 100 dwelling units per acre. Building heights are 65, and the floor area ratio is 3.0. Within a 1/4 mile to a 1/2 mile of a transit stop, the density decreases slightly to 80 dwelling units per acre with a building height of 55 feet. Floor area ratios in this area are 2.5. SB 70.
I'm sorry, could I jump in real quick? Could you tell us how many stories 85 feet is?
Generally speaking, it would be between 8 to 9 stories, depending on.
8 to 9 stories. Okay, thanks.
SB 79 also includes a transit stop adjacency intensifier, seen here to the right. If a project site is within immediate adjacency, generally within 200 feet of a transit stop, the density is increased to 140 dwelling units per acre, and there's an 85-foot building height with a 4.0 floor area ratio that would be applicable. These are the areas of the city determined to be affected by SB 79. The sites that are located within a 1/4 mile of a transit stop are shown in darker shade of color, with lighter colors representing properties in that 1/4 mile to 1/2 mile radius. In this map, sites that are not zoned residential, commercial, or mixed use have been omitted, so these are just the sites which are eligible. SB 79 allows areas within the TOD zones to be exempted if no walking path less than 1 mile exists from a property to the transit stop. Walking paths are pedestrian accessible routes that may include right-of-way, trails, public access easements on private property. They do not include walking paths through vacant properties or the use of private roads. The city's ordinance will exempt sites that have a walking path further than 1 mile from a transit-oriented development stop using a walking path methodology that utilized a GIS network analysis of roadway and pedestrian pathways, mapping 1 mile walking paths from transit station points identified by SANDAG, and then measured along the center line of the pedestrian accessible routes to the nearest property corner. I have a graphic, so don't worry. This is a graphic to help illustrate what we were just talking about on the walking path methodology. At the center is a transit stop with a TOD zone around it. In this first example, a walking path is mapped for 1 mile and ends here at this location. Since the two properties have a walking path of further than 1 mile from the transit stop, they're exempt from SB 79. Similarly, then in this next example, two walking paths end and branch out from 1 mile from the TOD stop. And since the cul-de-sac down at the bottom, there we go, is further than those 1 mile points, they're also excluded. So applying this methodology to this entire map, you see how the periphery of properties, although within the transit-oriented development zone, have those further walking paths and are exempted. Applying this principle to the entire city, these sites around the city are exempt from applicability of SB 79. For the temporarily excluded areas, SB 79 allows sites to be temporarily excluded through 1 year following the housing element cycle 7, anticipated in 2031 under the following conditions. There are historic resources designated on a local register as of January 1st, 2025. Areas vulnerable to 1 foot of sea level rise, certain low resource areas exclusions as defined by the state, and very high wildfire areas. Only the very high wildfire area condition applies within San Marcos, and the ordinance proposes to temporarily exclude these areas. Although these areas are temporarily excluded, future alternative plans needed by the housing element 7th cycle would need to consider the development of these areas, but may relocate density away from fire hazard areas. This graphic shows those areas which are proposed to be temporarily excluded. So what you're seeing, the areas in crosshatch are our high wildfire hazard areas, and the areas in dark red are properties that are within a transit-oriented development zone, but are also overlapping in the high fire hazard area and are excluded temporarily. SB 79 eligible sites, development again are limited to residential, commercial, and mixed-use zones for specific plans that also contain districts that allow residential, commercial, and specific plan developments. These zones are called out on the slide, but we will continue on. The excluded areas from eligibility under SB 79 are sites that are zoned for industrial, business park, open space, industrial, public, institutional, agricultural, or similar uses, and sites designated exempt or temporarily excluded, as we've been discussing, like for fire. So this map that you're looking at is essentially the inverse of the previous two, which shows those areas of the city which are not exempt or temporarily excluded, and also meet the mixed-use, residential, and zoning requirement. What standards still apply? SB 79 does not eliminate compliance with the following. So projects will still need to still comply with the building code, the fire code, objective development standards, municipal code requirements that don't conflict with SB 79, including infrastructure requirements to support that development, like water and sewer, airport compatibility requirements, public facility fees, and community facility district requirements. Demolition and anti-displacement requirements are also applicable, as well as the Housing Accountability Act, the California Environmental Quality Act, and the inclusionary affordable housing requirements. Transit-oriented development housing projects that consist of more than 10 units must provide one of the following quantities of on-site affordable housing. Either 7% extremely low income, 10% very low income, or 13% of just low income. As you're aware, the city's inclusionary housing ordinance requires that 15% of units be affordable. Under the city's ordinance, a developer may either construct the required affordable units on site or pay an in lieu fee. However, for transit-oriented development projects under SB 79, the required inclusionary housing units seen here must be provided on site and cannot completely be satisfied through the payment of an in lieu fee. Putting the ordinance into context, there is a hierarchy of housing laws applicable within the SB 79 created transit-oriented development zones, starting with existing development. Existing development will continue to be regulated by existing general plan and zoning regulations. Development of new vacant property or redevelopment of existing properties within a TOD zone could be developed under the existing zoning or planning designations or may be developed under the proposed TOD ordinance. It is also important to note that the proposed ordinance supplements state law by establishing local objective standards and procedures. It does not supersede or replace the requirements of SB 79 or other applicable state laws. And of course, additionally, there are other state laws that may apply to transit-oriented housing developments. For example, under California's density bonus law, qualifying projects may be eligible for density bonuses, incentives, or concessions and waivers of development standards that could allow development beyond standards established under SB 79. As previously discussed, the proposed city TOD ordinance would exempt and temporarily exclude areas from SB 79. It also establishes objective development standards as allowed by SB 79 that include open space requirements for common open space and private open space, shadow and solar access standards, building design standards, parking requirements, accessible path of travel requirement for the TOD station to the project, and application requirements and procedures. Going forward, adoption of the TOD ordinance by the council tonight would both include both an urgency ordinance effective immediately and a non-urgency ordinance taking effect within 30 days. Although staff has been in discussions with HCD about the ordinance, after adoption, the ordinance sorry about getting the hang of the clicker. Although staff has been in discussions with HCD about the ordinance, after adoption, the ordinance will be submitted to HCD for final review. Staff would also begin work on developing TOD alternative plans that would need to be in place within a year of the 7th housing element cycle. These are anticipated to be part of the general plan update and will provide a comprehensive plan to implement SB 79, including but not limited to redistributing housing capacity established by SB 79, including in areas that are proposed to be temporarily excluded in very high fire hazard areas, provide better alignment with specific plans, avoid development in sensitive areas, and implement future state legislation that is pending that may modify SB 79. This project is exempt from CEQA. Government Code Section 65912-160C states that a local ordinance adopted to implement SB 79 are not a project under CEQA. This is concurrent with the common sense exemption. Public notification occurred via public notice published in newspaper of general circulation 20 days prior to the public hearing, and no formal comments were received. Staff did meet with approximately 5 property owners that requested to discuss the ordinance. In summary, SB 79 became effective on July 1st, 2026. The ordinance before you preserves local authority where allowed. It establishes exempt and temporarily excluded areas, demonstrates compliant with state law, and was recommended by the Planning Commission for adoption by a 7-0 vote. This concludes staff's presentation.
So I live within one of the zones, and so out of a preponderance of caution, I will be recusing myself. And so please be kind to Deputy Mayor Sinella. He is getting the notes for the first time, and he's going to have to run this part of the meeting. And I will return. I'm going to be walking out now, and I will be back.
Thank you, Mayor. See you soon. And thank you, Sean. Thanks for the very informative presentation. Certainly appreciate it. Do my colleagues want to ask any questions at this time before we entertain the public comments? Anybody have any questions?
I have some follow-up questions.
Councilmember Nunez.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can we go back to slide 21 and 22? I'm trying to reconcile SB 79 and our existing inclusionary housing requirements. So when I look at the list at the bottom that says inclusionary affordable housing requirements, and then the following slide, so for the benefit of our residents, I just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding, that we're not hopefully eliminating the possibility of increasing or low-income affordability possible housing stock in the city. Can you go back and explain again how we reconcile these two, our existing requirements and what SB 79 requires? And I just want to make sure there's no confusion, because for me, it's not clear what we're actually doing today.
So just to clarify, the city standards are for 15% affordable units. SB 79s are slightly.
Can I interrupt for that? But as I understand currently, our developers have the option of either paying in lieu fees or building on site, correct? And does SB 79 change that for us?
The minimums that you see on the screen are the requirements for low-income units. And so whatever target income was selected to be built out within the project, the minimums are set below the city's requirements. So an in lieu fee wouldn't be allowed to go below these amounts. These amounts of units, provided that the project was more than 10 units, would be applicable.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that there's no conflict with our existing requirements.
Correct. There is no.
Correct. This, what this represents is the amount of units that actually need to be constructed within the development. And then the difference can be made up through our inclusionary housing ordinance and implemented through that.
Okay, thank you for that. I just wasn't clear how that would play out potentially. So thank you for that. And if we can go to slide 25. And when I look at this slide, so it is clear to me that this is being considered on an emergency basis. So for the benefit of our residents, can you walk us through, because it's not really clear to me, the requirements as an emergency measure that we're taking versus a regular measure? Like, for instance, I saw that we had to publish. And so can you walk us through the timeline in terms of the requirements that we have to meet, and versus had we not moved forward on an emergency basis?
Yeah, sure. So there were a number of factors that went into the dates that we kind of put forward for the timeline for this project. So work on the city's SB 79 implementation ordinance took basically started right at October 2025. Several key resources necessary to provide basically the ordinance that we have were not yet available until basically recently, as we were kind of talking about HCD's implementation guidance, which was released in March of 2026. There was the Sandag official transit-oriented development stop map and zone, which wasn't published until June 18th, which was after our planning commission meeting. So there was a lot of coordination which took place regionally and with Sandag and other jurisdictions to ensure basically that our ordinance was consistent with the latest guidance and also those implementation practices throughout the region. Despite these timing considerations, San Marcos is still an early adopter of the comprehensive SB 79 implementing ordinance. And with the adoption of the urgency ordinance, the law is able to take effect immediately instead of the 30 days that typically occurs after a second reading, which will occur for the regular part of the ordinance. So San Marcos would effectively have its ordinance in place tonight if the council adopts it. With the second reading, the more permanent ordinance would take over when that urgency ordinance expires. Prior to that, we had the Planning Commission meeting on June 15th, I believe, where they heard this item. It also had a 20-day notice ahead of it. These 20-day notices are also a state requirement in place for land use changes.
Part of what I'm thinking through is sort of the timeline where we're at. If SB 79 went into effect on July the 1st, correct? So is this going to be, if it's approved tonight, is it retroactive to July the 1st, or what does that timeline look like?
The urgency ordinance would take effect tonight if adopted and would provide a range of coverage for the city until the second reading of the ordinance took place and allowed the regular ordinance to be fully implemented after the second reading.
Yeah, so it isn't retroactive, but we don't have any SB 79 projects in the pipeline, so.
Okay. So part of what I'm thinking through is considering we just received information, it sounds like very recently, are we doing this prematurely? Where are we at? What's the thinking and where we're at? And it's a question that I myself can't really tell based on the information that we have and what we're looking to do.
Speaking for staff, we've been, as Sean mentioned, working collaboratively as a region since we got word that SB 79 was going to be implemented and taking place. So there has been a lot of work while we're taking an urgency ordinance action tonight, potentially. There has been a lot of time and effort, a lot of studying, a lot of collaboration, and a lot of work with Sandag. So I think from that perspective, I'm comfortable that the council's receiving a thorough work product this evening.
And then did I also understand correctly, so if this is approved tonight by council, our ordinance goes to HCD for some sort of review, approval? Did I understand that correctly?
Correct. We've met with HCD. There's a pre-approval process, so we've already submitted the ordinance. We've met with HCD. There's another part to it where you will submit the ordinance that was adopted within 60 days of adoption as well. And we may receive comments from HCD as well.
I'm sorry, we did receive comments from that?
We may after that 30-day.
Oh, okay.
Or 60 days.
Understood. And then one last question. It seems to me that we might see some changes probably fairly soon. If this is approved tonight by council, how will our residents be able to submit any kind of comments or any kind of input in terms of how we proceed? Because it seems like this is temporary. So do we have a plan for how we will proceed, or what will that look like?
Yeah, so I'm going to take your question to mean the proceeding with the alternative plans and not necessarily an individual development. So the plan right now is that the city is about to embark on the general plan update. And as part of that project, the city plans to take basically a more comprehensive look at how best to implement SB 79 as part of that process. It could be that it spins off as a separate TOD alternative plan in that process, but the plan right now is currently to look comprehensively with the general plan and look how to comprehensively take the requirements of SB 79 in the densities and housing capacity that's being created and where best to distribute it.
How soon are we anticipating that we would embark in that process? Do we have an estimated time when we would be?
Well, we're required to have it completed 1 year after the adoption of our next housing element cycle. So we do have until 2032 to get this in place, but we hope to embark on the general plan update soon, and we can start considering that along with any updates to the housing element that we need to make.
Okay. I don't have any other questions for now.
Thank you, Councilmember Nunez. Councilmember LeBlanc.
With regard to submitting this to HCD for review, what's the time frame for that?
We'll be submitting the ordinance, if it's adopted, very quickly within the week. It's unclear to us when HCD might reach out to us or issue a letter or what type of correspondence are going to be expected to come out.
The legislation anticipates, I think, rather optimistically, that they would potentially provide comment within 30 days, but that it also says that they have up to 90 days. So I expect that we will be seeing comments from HCD somewhere in the other end of the spectrum, nearer the 90-day mark.
So within 90 days, we should know if we have any comments and if we have to make any changes, and then we're kind of go from there, and then we'd be good to go at that point. And then I just want to clarify also for our residents, with regard to the areas that there's not a direct walking path, the areas that are exempted in those little carve-outs, those would actually be fully exempted, correct?
Correct.
And then the very high fire severity is just being deferred to the future, correct?
Correct. This is the map you were referring to. These areas of the city have a walking path of further than 1 mile from a transit-oriented stop, so they would be exempted from the requirements under SB 79. And as you pointed out, these are the areas of the city in the high wildfire area that would be temporarily excluded until the permanent plan was adopted or alternative plan was adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. With no other council comment, I have some comments, not questions, so I'll save them for later. At this time, we're going to be taking public comments on item number 11. We will call up the in-person comments first. If any remote viewers wish to speak on this item, please use your raised hand feature by either clicking the button or dialing *9 at this time. And I'll call our one speaker that we have in person, Chris Freeman.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Deputy Mayor, City Council members. Chris Freeman, resident of San Marcos. I wasn't sure if I was going to speak tonight. I think I know how most of the dais stands on this issue, but I think there's some positive things that we can pull out of here that hopefully I can share. So, like all of you, I love this city. I want to raise my kids in the city. I want my kids to be able to grow up, and if they choose to stay in the city, I want it to be affordable for them. And that's what SB 79 is about. It's about housing affordability. So the elephant in the room is this takes away local control. This is a state mandate. That doesn't feel good. We don't like those, okay? So let's get it off our chest for a minute and then let's think about what this really means for our city. The big thing that comes up with all this density is infrastructure. Well, first I want to clear a few things up. The adjacency modifier for parcels next door to transit, at the Planning Commission, we're talking about the 85-foot and 140 dwelling units per acre. At the Planning Commission meeting, it was shared that there were no parcels that qualified for that. Is that still the case? Have we heard that that's changed?
No, they're just not mapped because it's an intensifier, so only the two zones were mapped.
Okay, so we don't know yet which parcels may qualify for that height limit.
They would be the parcels immediately adjacent to the transit stops.
Okay. The rest of the density is 5- and 6-story buildings. We have some of those throughout San Marcos already. So the big concern is, can the infrastructure handle this? So let's go down the list of infrastructure items. This is built along the Sprinter. Can the Sprinter handle this added capacity? I think the answer there is yes. Our school districts, can the schools, are they busting at the seams, or can our schools handle more students? We have declining enrollment in San Marcos Unified. They can handle it. Energy, SDG&E, electricity, gas. I haven't heard any concerns about the grids going down because of residential development. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Water and sewer. SB 79 does not override Viacitos reviewing plans. Viacitos still has to see these plans and make sure that there's adequate capacity in those systems. And if I'm incorrect on that, please correct me. So the big thing our small businesses. Can our small businesses handle the influx of customers? I think we want that. So the big one is traffic. The best thing about SB 79, I have a lot of comments. I'll probably email you guys so I can share the rest of this, but this is built along the transit route. So if we can cap parking requirements and encourage development that doesn't have a lot of parking spots, this will encourage people to use the railways. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I think you're the first resident I've heard in probably 25 years of doing this that came up and advocated for more density and more housing, so thank you for your bravery. For the city clerk, do we have any online comments?
Caller ending in phone number 31, please unmute your phone.
Hi, Truth again, I appreciate that, 3-1. Can doesn't mean you should bill, because SB 79 is about eliminating local control. That's it, and replacing it with the United Nations Agenda 21 plan of urbanized control. Increased development means increased gentrification. That is not a positive. Everywhere looking like the stack and pack dumping ground known as North City does not make life better. As long as the MUC is paid, though, it doesn't matter if anyone can afford it, right? That's what I heard suggested. The max prediction is an increase of over 90,000 units to San Marcos. What is the actual expectation? City staff didn't say. How many cars predicted? How much traffic congestion predicted? What would be the predicted budget required for street repairs, sewer and light infrastructure, parking needs, along with law enforcement and fire response needs? There's going to be less transit frequency to avoid SB 79 punishment. Despite current slow, unreliable frequency, it's just going to get worse. Local businesses are going to be pressured to sell to big corporations who want to redevelop along transit lines and bus stops. There's going to be less sidewalks built to avoid SB 79 punishments. And I recommend for any homeowners in California who live within COD zones, do not support sidewalks. You're going to find 8-foot-high stack-a-packs towering over your home. To loosely quote a smart person, Soviet-style generic density hollows out the middle, the creative, and the independent and unique neighborhoods and forces uniform submission. Take film of all the beautiful, charming, unique, or desirable neighborhoods in California and commit them to memory. Manufacturing stackable units of foreign nationals can land bank at the expense of generations of Californians, putting a little so-called affordable equity spin over it so the middle class will sacrifice their neighborhoods. California will have really ugly purgatory units in abundance with no real economic basis, like all draconian ideological projects in our one-party state. California is becoming one big Superfund site. It's a cultural and architectural nightmare by that destructive creature, pervert Scott Wiener, because the pedophile wants every city to look like San Francisco with $6,000 a month box units above struggling restaurants, with everyone relying on big daddy government to barely survive. It's not his first attack, and it's not his last. He's got about 3 other bills coming that are even worse. Will those NIMBY hypocrites put these 8 to 9 foot towers in the backyard of their taxpayer and corruption-funded mansions? Of course not. They would never even use public transit, let alone live in a box unit next to the loud noise and crime transit always brings. City councils exist to represent their people's wishes, not Sacramento's demands. It's beyond time to push back, including at Sandag with their questionable maps, and in Sacramento with their unfunded, unconstitutional mandates. If these Sacramento swamp communists are paying drug addicts to vote and allowing illegal aliens to vote, why should we recognize their unlawfully obtained dictates? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other Zoom in speakers or commenters? Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public hearing is closed. I'll reopen it to my
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor, I just want to note for the record that Mayor Jones abstained from that vote.
Thank you. I'll reopen it up to my colleagues for any other comments or questions that they may have before we take a vote. Not everybody.
I have a brief comment and
Councilmember Dean, yes, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Our staff report says that this ordinance establishes a local framework for immediate compliance with the state law while preserving the city's ability to undertake a more comprehensive planning effort through future general plan and housing element updates. I'm going to be supporting this tonight with this understanding that we will be diligently complying and making sure that our residents have the opportunity to give us their input and feedback to ensure that we're addressing our housing affordability crisis that we have.
Thank you. And I just want to add a comment that I've not been a big fan of SB 79. While, I think most folks that are here know that I serve on the North County Transit District Board of Directors and are very supportive of transit. And I understand the importance and the purpose that it has for our communities along the 78 corridor. And I work really hard at North County Transit to make sure that we have those transit options for everyone. This transit-oriented development bill that we're all facing and trying to manage through SB 79 really is the old-fashioned Sacramento cookie-cutter approach to development. And to its credit, while I've traditionally been not a supporter of SB 79, but to its credit, it did think and take into consideration things like wildfire. And that's exactly what we're implementing tonight is one of the biggest concerns I hear from our residents is wildfire. The other, which it's not really playing a role in this decision tonight, is overdevelopment. But the wildfire risks that we have in our community and really just throughout Southern California, like we've seen up in LA and all the way down to San Diego, is a real threat that we have to face. And so I'm glad that we're going to consider this emergency ordinance, and I'm going to be supporting it tonight because it will allow us to take some steps to protect our community when it comes to public safety. Any other comments before? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and commend you, Chris, for your comments, very succinct and right to the point. This is an effort for the council to protect what rights we still have insofar as planning goes with the onslaught of SB 79, and we've already seen with some of the housing development that we've had that take advantage of density bonuses where there is no parking for the residents. We've seen what happens with the on-street parking in some of these areas that are extremely congested. And I fully expect that any developer that comes in to take advantage of these maps are not going to incorporate parking with the expectation and the argument that, well, you're in a transit zone, so you'll just use the Sprinter. And that supposes the Sprinter is going to take people from their home to their place of employment. And maybe they're working at the Oceanside Pier, I don't know, or the bowling alley. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's farcical what Sacramento is pushing down on us we need to control the planning in our own communities, not be spoon-fed ideas. And insofar as Sandag goes, it is a transportation planning agency, but it is focused specifically on supporting these measures that come out of Sacramento. Individual board members will make arguments against it, but ultimately it supports transportation because it feeds the money that comes in. I will be supporting this for the sole purpose of maintaining what little control we have over our community and our development, but I'm not happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember LeBlanc?
And I wanted to add that while the spirit of SB 79 is great, I think it's a great idea to have more development around transit so that people can walk and they can use public transportation, and we can build up our public transportation, which is really important. I just don't think this is the way to do it. And I think we need to give cities more local control with that, especially cities like San Marcos, where we're doing a great job with our housing numbers. So I will be supporting this ordinance to give us the local control we can maintain at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember LeBlanc, and I echo those. I actually supported a transit-oriented development in Oceanside from the Board of Directors of the North County Transit District, where I think it makes perfect sense that they're going to build some commercial and residential development around the Oceanside Transit Center, which I think desperately needs an upgrade, and that'll bring some not only some life to that area and kind of clean it up a little bit, but it makes perfect sense that people will be living where they can get onto buses, trains, or the Sprinter, and it makes sense. What I don't like about ordinances like, bills like SB 79 is that it really is a cookie cutter approach that it treats every bus stop and every transit stop with the Sprinter just about the same way. There's some slight differences from location to location, but it really does take away that local control, and that's unfortunate. So if there's no other comments from my colleagues, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt.
Okay.
Second.
Would that include both the urgency and the regular due course ordinance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And second to both.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0 with Mayor Jones abstaining. Thank you. And we'll take a brief recess to get Mayor Jones back.
Well, hello, everyone. Oh, thank you. All right, well, I'm back. So we are moving on to reports. First one is Sandag. Councilmember Musgrove, you
Thank you,
attended
Mayor.
for me.
I
Yes.
did. I attended last Friday at the meeting. I took my notes down by topic areas. So the first one was the CEO's report. Sandag has received a request from the state for toll receipts for the 125 and 15. The state's conducting an audit of revenue from tolled roadways. I think they want to ensure they get their cut. California Transportation Commission has allowed a $214 million release of funds for the San Diego Double Track project. This brings the available funds to 95% needed for that project to go to RFP. And staff are watching the Federal Office of Management and Budget's new guidance on grant opportunities and conditions. On the consent calendar, we accepted on consent a $4.675 million fund from the city of San Diego for the Eastern Hillcrest Bikeway project, and this will keep the project on time to its targeted completion. And under projects, the better part of an hour and a half was discussed on the Otay Mesa East project. And it came down to the balance between this project, which is a secondary point of entrance for commercial trucking primarily, and they do anticipate some private vehicles, but it's mostly for commerce. And the argument being, why are we spending so much money on Otay Mesa East, which will benefit the US side, but it'll really benefit commerce coming from Mexico, and then drawing the correlation over to they're not fixing their sewer system. So it comes down to the project total cost is $1.4 billion on a 3-year timeline to complete. And we did approve the CEO's authority to execute service agreements. And the funding matrix is as follows. The federal government is contributing $598 million, the state $440 million, locally $72 million, and there's a future bond correlation of $357 million for the $1.4 billion. And the breakdown, which is most important to us, the local contribution, it represents 5% of that, but when the bond comes forward, we will all be paying for that. Staff and board discussion went nearly 90 minutes. Several board members aired concerns regarding Mexico's perceived lack of commitment to mitigate sewage issues while looking to benefit greatly from the transnational commerce set to use the OME. And then we had a update from General Counsel Teddy Lowe, who was new to Sandag. Is that correct, Mayor? Yes. He's new. Okay, he's our new General Counsel. So they've broken that down. General Counsel for Sandag, and then the board has their own attorney. So Teddy brought forth a model to clean up and bring to rational order the organization's policies and bylaws. The final plan will be brought to the executive committee and then the board for final discussions and acceptance with a date to be determined, but in the coming weeks or potentially months. There's a lot of redundancy, there's a lot of conflict. There's some where a simple vote of the board can override a bylaw, which is somewhat inconsistent with the way bylaws are supposed to be hard and fast unless they're changed. But this will all be brought together, and ideally it'll be cleaned up and then brought to the board for final review and approval. And that concludes my report.
Excellent. Before you run off, League of California Cities, do you have?
Yes, Mayor, while I'm still here.
Yes.
So we met yesterday with our regional president, Councilmember Nunez. We had a couple of assembly members scheduled, and one of them couldn't make it, but we did get Assemblymember Chris Ward came in. He spent quite a bit of time updating and did some Q&A. It was pretty informative. I did take note on a couple of items that he discussed. One is AB 2180, which addresses the tier system of water bills. And as you might recall, if you get your water bill and during points of strict conservation, the water companies realize that when you use less water, they get less revenue, so they charge you more for saving water. Well, there's still a component of that will exist, but it's designed to bring it back more into balance. So they want to encourage conservation, but they don't want to penalize you for doing it. So those that pay or use more water instead of effectively receiving a break will just pay more, consistent with those who are saving water. And the other one we talked about was AB 2564, surveillance pricing. And while I was sitting here, I just pulled it up on Wikipedia, and it gives the best definition if you're not familiar with surveillance pricing. It's a form of dynamic pricing where a consumer's personal data and behavior is used to determine their willingness to pay. This form of price discrimination assesses price sensitivity for products or services based on an individual's characteristics and behaviors, including location, demographics, browsing history, shopping history, and inferred emotional or financial state. So as you go on the internet and go to Amazon, eBay, and do your shopping, if you do grocery shopping online, do be aware that you as an individual may be receiving a price for a product that is not consistent with your next door neighbor, or because you live in a certain area, they know that you can sustain a higher price for it. This particular bill, AB 2564, is designed to address that, to ensure, I would imagine, some degree of consistency in pricing, but it is a market society, so we'll have to see how far that goes. And that concludes my report.
I had no idea that was happening. That's eye-opening, actually.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I should offer that to our president.
What do you think about that, Councilmember Nunez? Surveillance pricing? Wow.
Sounds very, very ominous.
1984.
Right.
Yes.
I
100%.
do want to highlight for the council that Cal Cities does have a webinar scheduled for Wednesday, July 22nd, and they're calling it the top remaining bills for cities. So I do encourage, if you're available, to join that webinar.
Okay, thank you. Next up, North County Transit District Deputy Mayor Sanella.
Yes, thank you. We meet on Thursday at 2 o'clock in Oceanside.
Okay, and that's at the NCTD offices.
NCTD
Yep.
offices, off of
Okay.
Mission.
North County Dispatch Joint Powers Authority.
We meet in August.
Okay, Clean Energy Alliance, Councilmember Nunez.
That's me.
Oh, what?
I filled in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I filled in for Councilmember Nunez, and we covered a number of kind of housekeeping items at that board meeting, but the biggest item that we discussed and ended up approving was our fiscal year 2026, 2027 annual budget. It's budget season, as we know, all of the agencies have been going through it, and we passed a balanced budget of just under $379 million for the fiscal year.
and not to put you on the spot, how much of that is capital projects, do you know?
If you give me a second, I can find it in my notes. I do have it.
Okay, just curious. That's a lot of money. And that's without a fair increase, correct?
There will probably be a fair increase.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
but not, yeah, not
So,
currently.
yeah, it's roughly 41.5 million will be in capital. And operating expenses is 337, just under 338 million.
Okay, all right,
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for attending that meeting. on my
Absolutely,
behalf.
anytime.
City council business visits. Wait, none? That's right, we didn't have any. Okay, well, I'd like to just make one comment about the 4th of July. The fireworks were amazing. Good job, everyone that was involved with that, keeping everyone safe, whether it was our public safety partners, deputy sheriffs, and then also our fire department. But I think it went off beautifully. And I did see some sunflower fireworks myself. I don't know if they seem new. They seemed new to me. I felt like they were sunflowers. That's what I saw. Maybe it's just my imagination. I'm not
It's a
sure.
fantastic show, Mayor.
Yeah, it was.
Really
It
nice.
I've
was a
heard
great job.
tremendous feedback from the community.
And the music, now I can't remember the name of the band, but they were so good. Do you remember?
Where's
the name?
Jacob?
I actually have it in my phone somewhere, but I'm not going to look for it. Anyway, thank you for attending this evening, and with that, this meeting's adjourned.
Recording stopped.